What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Get Weird with me, your host, Brittany Barbieri. Now, guys, I'm actually excited because this is going to be a kind of one-off within the podcast. It's going to be the On the Road with me. And they're not going to be that long. They're kind of going to be shorter, but they're going to be quick. They're going to be fun. And you probably listen to a couple of them, whatever you're doing on these short little jogs or whatever you're doing. But in the next several weeks, I'm going to be on the road and even out of country. And it's going to be very hard for me to sit in my studio and sit down and kind of go through cases and discuss cases and pinpoint some of the history that I have written down because I'll be on the road. And so Media Squatch and I have created this brilliant idea of doing, which it wasn't really my idea. I won't take the credit. It was Media Squatch's idea for me to record on the road. And any random topics or thoughts that hit my mind to kind of just record it, share it, and let you guys have fun with it in any way you see fit. So I'm excited about this because it gives me an opportunity to kind of record on the road and kind of just talk in the moment. So that's kind of cool. I just got back from the Cryptids and Paranormal Conference that took place in Plainsboro, New Jersey. It was an incredible event. I had a wonderful time surrounded by wonderful people and friends. And I love when I do and I have the opportunity to get out and see my friends in the field. We don't always get to see each other unless we are at these events and we do these brief little catch-ups. So it was really nice seeing everybody, and I met some wonderful new fans and fellow, I like to call them fellow weirdos because I'm a weirdo myself. Because, unfortunately in today's era, if you're into the weird, the obscure, the supernatural, the unknown, whatever you want to call it, people just go, you're one of those. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're a weirdo. But it's not. And a lot of times people don't understand that a lot of us are actually backed by science. We're not just out there running around being crazy in the woods. We're not looking for the purple people eater, if you know what I mean. And I think that's the topic I really want to discuss right now on my drive quite briefly, is over the years I've seen a downfall in just one topic that I'll bring to the table, multiple topics, but the one I'll bring to the table today is cryptozoology. And it makes me very sad because cryptozoology was actually designed as an extension of zoology. Yet if you go online, and I, again, encourage you, please stop believing everything you read on Google and Google AI and freaking Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude. Again, it's a data point system. It's going to just pull a bunch of information and gather the best that seems collectively all the right information. And half the time it's wrong. And so recently I saw that there was this collection of information that spit out that cryptozoology was not an extension of true zoology, and that nobody basically applies scientific rigor to the field. And honestly, that is just absurd because I don't know who felt the need to write that in a blog somewhere, but I challenge you on that one because I do come from a very professional wildlife zoological background. And a lot of what I do, I base it in science. I base it in real factual history. What I like to add in, which you will find in ethnozoology, is where we apply the connection and how cultures and indigenous and people interact with species of animal and how it plays into, their culture. And so there are other field studies that also apply the same grounded perspective in science that is taking place in cryptozoology. But to take it all the way back, cryptozoology was formed by a biologist who dealt within the zoological science as a field scientist himself. And what a lot of people don't know is that Ivan Sanderson, somebody I look up to very much in this field, and I know people laugh at me for saying that, but he was the true pioneer of the time. But what a lot of people don't know was between the 20s all the way up until about 1958, 1959, Ivan Sanderson lived under the canopies in the most remote regions doing zoological scientific studies and work, and wrote dozens of books with his own art in them of actual animals, educating the public on animals within certain regions and certain areas, and actually made several scientific zoological discoveries along his path and in his life in the field. Some of them are just exquisite, and I have those books. I scoured looking for the first edition prints. I wanted them from that time, not a reprint from Amazon, And I love reading his words, but I actually got the opportunity to sit in his archive, to go through his books. And this is thousands, if not 50,000 plus papers, okay? If not more than that. And there is a whole section of his zoological science and studies. And so cryptozoology came about because he spent some of the most incredible times in these remote areas talking to the local indigenous about these animals and what they look like, what they sound like, and he listened, which is what a lot of us just don't do anymore. Heck, we're so nose down in our phone, and we only live within the city or the range that we live in, and to think that there could still be animals out there that we haven't found, we laugh because we live in such a small-minded world. But let me tell you what, if I drop you in the middle of, let's just say, British Columbia, and there's no one around, if I drop you there, all of a sudden you feel very small, and you look around and you realize that everything around you and everything maybe you've been taught is wrong. And the possibility of something still existing out there, even a larger mammal, could still exist and just, be hidden. And that key word, be hidden, is what Ivan actually just fed on, of saying what else is still hidden and unknown as far as animals go, real species of flesh and blood that we don't know about yet, that we need to look for to protect, for conservation efforts, for ecosystems, for environments. And so he created and coined cryptozoology. And of course, it's very traditional to keep it within the Greek. And so Greek wording of hidden and secret basically is the quick layman's term for what it means. You can break it down online if you'd like, but that is basically the quick thing for it, which was just hidden and secret. And so I got the opportunity to read his work and actually see what he wrote to other field scientists and talked about. Even the smallest thing is amphibians, or even a lizard and, a beetle. I mean, these things fascinated him, like that's what he did. That's what his profession was. And these smear campaigns that come out all because, this one time, somebody got him with the penguin thing, it haunts them and it changes it. Well, let me tell you something. If you've been in the field long enough, somebody is trying to get you. One of my dearest friends and mentor was Professor Jeff Meldrum. And we laughed. We had conversations about people trying to get him. And sometimes he said they were so good. Like they had him. He's like, they got me. And then I realized this is a hoax. This is a hoax footprint, and even him, who was a professor, who had this massive, extensive knowledge of degrees behind him, still people tried to get him too. It happens. I'm sorry. It just happens. That does not eliminate who you are as a person and erase your entire scientific background. This man was a genius, and a lot of people just don't take the time. They Google stuff. And let me tell you what, there's a ton of smear campaigns on Google about a lot of people in the field, half of which aren't true. People are just either jealous, they're mad, they're angry, and there's also a few people online that met Ivan Sanderson, that worked with Ivan Sanderson as a colleague later in his life, and write about how incredible he was as a person. All of this stuff, it just bothers me. And people have agendas, people have their own whatever they want to make, fabrication about people in the field for whatever reason. But him and Bernard Hovelman from overseas, great friends and colleagues. They actually worked together on multiple things, not just the Minnesota Iceman case, but multiples. And it came a time when Bernard said, I want to utilize the terminology of cryptozoology over I am in my field studies, and other scientists like myself, can I do that? And I was like, yes. And a lot of people think it was Bernard. Bernard didn't coin that. It was actually written in his own biography that he got that name from Ivan Sanderson, a friend, colleague of his. And again, people just don't do the research. People don't look into these things. And I just won't listen to somebody on the internet telling me what to believe. I'm one of those that I need to read it, find it for myself. And that actually means extensive work. That means libraries, reaching out to people. I actually have talked to the curators of the museum that has Bernard's field science from zoology and biology and the animals and the hides and things like this. I mean, it's extensive. It's wonderful. It's incredible. But to sit down in the myths of these thousands upon thousands of paperwork and busts and, he even had some taxidermy animals in there and skulls and relics that he's collected over the years. And to sit in the midst of all that, you begin to understand the person behind the literature. And he was an exquisite human being who found interest in a lot of things. And one of the cool things I read about was he was looking into when they were starting to discover the large armadillos, ancient armadillos or whatever, in the ancient, I don't remember where it was, but he was intrigued by it and basically was saying, I think if we dig further, we'll find more of these fossilized remains of them, and we might find tunnels, we might find this, we might find that. But he was like reaching out to them and talking to them in these long handwritten letters to different field scientists and to other paleontologists and archaeologists, and asking about their discoveries and how it intrigued him and, what was the scientific basis that came to that conclusion. And he was just enamored with anything that just really was pushing the boundaries of scientific discovery. And I admired him for that. He even wrote to Reader's Digest about the possibility of what we now call Bimini Road. He actually sent them a whole report on his own scientific study on it, and a couple of the colleagues he knew that were working on it as divers at the time, and wrote to them, and they were asking him about, would you mind providing that information? There's just this stuff that's hidden that people don't know about him that I got to see for myself, and there were moments that I would get choked up because this man was truly incredible, and his mind was working so much different, very different versus what most people are today. And the way he processed things and the way he grounded himself in science and really was open-minded to things. And what I appreciated was he listened to the oral history and the indigenous cultures and the locals. He pushed on, we need to listen to them if we're going to really save the next unknown species. But again, it started in zoological science, and that is where I want it to remain. I don't want it to be this monster quest or monster hunt. That's not at all what it was designed to do. When we look at the unknown species that still exist out there, I don't want to find it just to find out that it's dying, that there's only like 2 left. I want to find it to where we can protect it. We can monitor it and help bring the species back. You know what I mean? I don't want to send all these things to Colossal. No, let's just do our job and put the money where it belongs to go and field these expeditions and listen to the people that are living there. I'm sorry, but you and your little towers in the middle of New York City don't know anything about what's going on in other parts of this world. You think you do because you watch social media. You're getting pinches and pieces of it. That's not real. Half of it's AI, half of it's fake, and half of it's fear, and half of it's made up just to drive division between people and races. And so for me, it's about funding to go find and explore and see these things for yourself. I have people that live in the state that I live in Florida, that don't even know that we have rhesus monkeys that literally live in the middle of our state because they were filming Tarzan and just left them there. Just left them there after filming Tarzan. And now these monkeys they just live. They're living their life in the middle of Florida. Florida has monkeys. They're not native here, but they're here now, and they're taking up, and they're having a good time, and they're living their life. And there's these little hidden gems, right? But there's a story behind them. There's these really cool stories behind them, but they're still real. These cases, these sightings, they're still real. There's something to it, and there's a lot about a lot of these animals, and a lot of these things. And even when you look at animals in the zoos, a lot of people don't even realize that the lowland gorilla, 1850s, folks. Look at how far in 1850s. And it took a skull. It took a literal skull for somebody to be like, holy crap. We actually have, this is unreal. We have a gorilla in an area that we didn't know about? Yeah, no, you didn't. Because nobody chose to listen to the people that live there and are living through it every day, and they're trying to tell you what they see, and eventually they're just going to shut up. And then guess what? We lose an incredible animal species out there that could have been saved But we were so arrogant and egotistical because we think we know everything about everything. And we think that we can tell these people who are living it every day that they're not seeing what they think they see, that they're just uneducated. And frankly, what I have heard is that they're stupid. And I am appalled by that. Those closed-minded mentalities are the reason why society will die. And I refuse to live in that box. So if I have somebody who's living in an area, let's just say Tennessee, telling me they're seeing something really strange over and over and over again, and they invite me to come and investigate it, I'm going to come and investigate it, because there's a lot of times there's an actual species of flesh and blood that are causing these sightings. And it could be something as this animal has some type of rare deformity or a mutation in the genetic gene, or maybe it's sick and has a strange virus. Again, things that we need to look into, we need to monitor, and we need to study and to protect them. People don't realize that cryptozoology is a part of zoology and it's a part of conservation, and it is something that we really need to work on. And so for me, it's important to me. Cryptozoology is really important to me. I love it. I'm admired by it. I'm fascinated by it, because all too often we ignore those that are living it. And I just don't think that that's fair. I don't think that that's okay. And I love all animals. Big, small, otherwise, everything in between, all the way down to the bugs. Like, I'm the one who sees things. I'm like, wait, I gotta go film that. They're like, why? I'm like, because it's a rare whatever beetle. It's just me. But I just love it. And I want to protect this planet and everything on it. And so for me, I will continue to fight to bring cryptozoology and cryptozoological studies back to zoology, where it belongs, where it was formed, so we can bring it back to science, where it was once respected and revered within many universities, including the Smithsonian, until the 1980s. And I will do my job to bring it back home, because I grew up in the zoological world and zoological studies and animals and handling animals and rescuing animals with my family. And I mean, that's all we've done my whole life. So I do know that there are animals out there that people don't believe in, that are very real. Very real. And I'm going to bring it home. I'm going to continue to do whatever I have to do to bring cryptozoology home. And I don't care who laughs at me, but I laugh back because I feel sorry for them, because they'd rather just believe what they read on Google than to take the time and do the research for themselves and see that there is factual truth here. And for some reason, these big egos come walking into rooms thinking that they know everything, when half the time what they're saying is inaccurate and wrong, and they're misleading a lot of people that are looking for answers. And I won't be a part of that. I'm not here for monsters. I'm here for the real species that are waiting for us to protect them, the voiceless, as I like to call them, because the only monsters on this planet are us. We are always the real monsters in all of these cases. So that is my food for thought for today. My nice little on the road story with me for this day, because this week, my friends, again, I'm going out of town. So it is going to be very crazy. But stay tuned. This is the first of many on the road. And again, my brain is just reeling. I'm just talking off the cusp. I don't have my facts in front of me off of, most of the time when I get ready to prep for an episode, I like to have a lot of my factual points from my field notes or from my stuff right in front of me as I'm going along, giving you the story and the tale. But today is more or less having a conversation with me. Listen to where my brain is half the time, to understand who I am as a person and understand why I do what I do and why I drive forward with such drive. Sorry for saying drive twice, but really that's where it's at. And I'd rather have it just be real. I'm just having a real conversation with you. I'm sure I've made a couple of strange errors in here because my brain works way faster than my mouth. And sometimes I create words like Brittanyisms, as my husband likes to call them. And I'm okay with that, folks, because you know what? I'm only human. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And you know what? I challenge everything, and I challenge science with science. And that is why I continue to learn, educate myself, and take every course study and get certified in everything that I possibly can to elevate my knowledge so that I can combat those that try and tell me the one single narrative they want me to believe, because the world is too vast and too big to believe just one simple narrative. And on that note, here we go. See? Tongue twisting. On that note, my friends, have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening in on this little fun conversation on the road. This is Brittany Barbieri, and until next time, stay weird, stay curious, and challenge everything.